Yesterday I posted a video where you can get up to 200,000 combat experience in a single hour doing different methods than sand crabs. And people got really upset at me. How dare you, Kriibus? How dare you take away my sand crabs and what it means to me? I am getting my 10 minutes of AFK combat time and ain't nobody stopping me. I hear you, man. I hear you loud and clear. There is nothing more I want in this world than satisfy your needs. That's why I was put into this world, to make mediocre YouTube videos for almost no money. And guess what? I am here to make your day better, my sand crab lovers, because for the first time in a long time I have something that is more experienced, more convenient, and guess what? Even more AFK. How much AFK, you ask? 6 freaking hours. Yes, forget about sand crabs once and for all. I know how much they mean to you, but it's time for something better. You thought 20 minutes of combat is the max you can do? Nah. Wait until you hear about this. I sound like I'm trying to sell you a sketchy product. I promise I'm not. Now, if you don't know the history about 6-hour timers, jagex removed the Duke mining method a few weeks ago because it was just too AFK. But little did they know, there are a few other methods out there like that, so take advantage of this while you can, because there might be a chance jagex removes this by the time you see it. This method is literally meant for the most amount of AFK time that you can humanly get, which is one action in 6 hours. Good examples is if you want to go out for the night, if you need to go to the school in the morning, if you want to go to the grocery shopping, or maybe even the movies, but you feel like you also need that RuneScape experience. Well, guess what? You're in luck. This is exactly what you need. Okay, let's get into it. Firstly, I will say this is Nightmare Zone, but we're gonna look at it from a completely different perspective. And this just became available a few months ago. The reason why this method works is because of one item, Escape Crystal. Don't worry, we're not gonna use this item today, but when jagex brought this item back, they changed the way you can interact with the game, because previously pressing down your keyboard and just rotating your camera around didn't count as interacting with the client. But with the Escape Crystal introduction, the mechanics have changed now, and just holding down your arrow keys is more than enough for the game to register as you being there. And that's how we're gonna stay in Nightmare Zone for 6 hours today. But there are a few things you should know about before going in. Firstly, let's talk about gear. You wanna have at least 75 defense. I would prefer even more than that. This method just doesn't work with low defense levels because we're going for a massive tank gear setup. So for the gear, I would just do full Justiciar. Yes. The set currently costs 40 million GP, but trust me, the price is worth it. For your shield, I will go with Dragonfire Shield. Now, if you're an ultra mega rich player, first of all, you should donate me some money, and second of all, you should bring Elysian Spirit Shield. But I'm not gonna go too deep into that because I mean, it's a 700 million GP shield. Very few players can afford that, but just get the best shield you can possibly get. Okay. For the amulet slot, we have Amulet of Fury, then we have Guardian Boots, which have the best defense, Barrow's Claws, Ring of Suffering, Imbued, keep that in mind, Fire Cape, Inferno Cape, Max Cape, whatever cape you have that gives the best bonuses, and your weapon of choice. I'm gonna go with Abyssal Tentacle, but feel free to use Osmoten's Fang, normal Abyssal Wave, Blade of Saldor, or a cheap budget weapon like Dragon Scimitar. The entire purpose of this setup is simple. We wanna last 6 hours without clicking on the screen once. And if you last 6 hours in other aspects of your life, please consider visiting a doctor. If you can't afford Justiciar, you can also go with full Barrow's Armor setup. That should get the job done for minimum 3, 4, or 5 hours. It all depends on your defense levels, so bear that in mind. The most cheapest setup is full Cuttons, and it works as well. Trust me, I tried it out myself. You would just gain a little bit less experience per hour, but if you want cheap gear, that's your best option. Now, let's get into the method itself. Firstly, head over to Nightmare Zone and pick out the 5 lowest defense monsters. These are Count Trainer, Sand Snake, Trapped Soul, King Roald, the Candle. We're also gonna pick out the normal mode, which makes this a lot easier. Please don't pick hard mode, otherwise this method just doesn't work. The only thing you need in your inventory is 5 absorption potions. This is so you can absorb up to 1000 hits. You can bring 1 dose of overload at the start, but again, this entire method is meant for 1 click in 6 hours. That's it. So prepare your room, pay the money for the room, and then go in. Now this is the most important part. You'll need to stand on a square so that the monsters don't get stuck behind each other. This especially applies to the Sand Snake, which is 3 by 3 in size. I will put a tile marker in the description of this video for this one specific tile that you need to stand on, otherwise this method just doesn't work, because the Sand Snake will get stuck and your run is over. If you can't copy paste and import tile markers, look closely here. In the middle of the room there is 2 piles of bones, and between these piles is a blood spot, or I guess like an armor spot. You need to mark the tile right of that, because on this tile the NPCs keep attacking you for 6 hours. It's that simple. So drink your absorption potion until it shows 1000 at the top, put pressure on your keyboard like your parents have put pressure on you for your entire life, and feel free to leave your computer for 6 hours. Don't worry about dropping your hit points to 1 or any other Nightmare Zone shenanigans, we don't need any of that. Also, a common method for Nightmare Zone I've seen is using full Obsidian. Yeah, that doesn't work here, because Obsidian just doesn't have the defense stats to carry you through the 6-hour journey. Also, make sure you have pressure on both of your shift key and your arrow keys to ensure that the combat doesn't stop after 20 minutes. The other option is also pressing down your spacebar. Just test out whatever works for you and go with that. For me, only arrow keys worked, but I have heard a few players who needed to press multiple keys for the game to register as an interaction. You can bring more absorption potions if you want, that's absolutely okay if you don't have good enough gear to last 6 hours, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Go to sleep, go out, go grocery shopping, and when you come back, your account has trained for 6 hours. It will not stop attacking after 20 minutes like with every other training method because you're still having input with the game. The experience rates vary a lot depending on your setup. With the Abyssal Tentacle, I got around 70k experience an hour, which is pretty much the same I will get at Sand Crabs, but again, the difference is 6 hours versus 10 minutes. Obviously with God Unstood, I got a little bit less experience, and the same goes for Dragon Scimitar, so pick your best option that works for your Iron Man or main accounts. Now I will say this as a disclaimer because I know there's gonna be at least one person in the comment section who's gonna start yelling at me, which honestly, joke's on you because that's my kink, so all you're really doing is turning me on. There used to be a rule in JageX's terms of service that said using hardware modification, which in our case would mean putting pressure on your keyboard with any object and then leaving for 6 hours, is against the rules. However, JageX has now removed that rule, meaning technically it is absolutely okay to do this. The reason for this is because JageX can't prove you that you as a player have left the computer or not. There is no way to differentiate between you resting your hand on a keyboard to move your in-game camera around or just having an object on that keyboard. And just like with Duke mining method that is similar to this one, nobody actually got banned for it, and it was fine. That being said, JageX does have rules against macroing in general, and that goes for hardware as well. And at the end of the day, they are the ones that decide if your account should be banned or not, so do this at your own risk. Despite the fact that as far as I know nobody has been banned for the 6-hour AFK methods, it is very grey area of the game. The more likely scenario is that just like with Duke mining, JageX at one point is just gonna remove this method when the priority for this goes up. Meaning you should just take advantage of this while you can and put those 3 hours into use. So now that you know how to do 6 hours of AFK combat training, I hope all of you people who got angry at me that I showed a really amazing training method in my yesterday's video are more happy puppies now. As always, if you enjoy the content, consider subscribing so I can pay rent next month, and I'll see you all tomorrow with another video. I love you all very much and you mean the world to me. Bye!